This is my approach for accounting for any projected rain or snow delay that our construction schedule is likely to encounter. And this is most appropriate for larger schedules. Now, this is our situation. What we have is that the weather calendar cannot be globally assigned to a resource loaded schedule. Once you have a resource assigned, it's not, did not find it possible to add an additional resource. So what we have here is a 600 activity 4-year construction project that is going to be impacted by rain and estimate uncertainty. And that's because we're in the Gulf Coast and rain is a major factor here. It is my opinion that weather will have a significant impact on almost all schedules and cannot be ignored. Now, this is our methodology. We're going to create a weather calendar, and you'll see this in a little bit, using the average rainfall, and we're going to allow for a make-up Saturday. That's because generally down here we work 5 10-hour days with Saturday reserve as a make-up day should we be rained out at any one day during the week. We're going to create a P6 reflection of the schedule just to keep everything clean. We're going to create a weather resource, and the reason we have to create a weather resource is because PERTmaster needs it. That's part of its mechanism to apply the weather calendar. And that kind of makes sense because you only want to apply it to those activities going to be affected by the weather. So we're going to add weather resources to all affected activities in P6. And then we're going to add the weather calendar to the OPRA schedule after we've added the weather resource. Then we're going to perform the normal risk analysis and compare the results. This is how it begins. This is the weather model. And the way that we create the weather model is from an Excel spreadsheet that we get. And what I did here is I basically found for Lake Charles, which is the base of our project, this data from the weather base. You can see the link up here. And so what I did is I just arbitrarily decided, since I really didn't have any other metrics, that I wanted to know the number of days in which we had more than 2/10 of an inch. And I figured that would be what we would call a rain day. And so this is the number of rain days that we would normally expect to see in the corresponding month. And this is going to be true whatever year. These are average rainfalls. So once you have that, then the idea is to develop a work table, worksheet, whatever. But you want to be able to take this data, the total number of days, like we said before, and here I've got it from 2013 to 2020, just because once you set up the table, it's just as easily, and then you can reuse this data as long as you're going to be in the same area, in this case Lake Charles. And so here's the total number of days, and here's the number of Saturdays in that particular month. And so then for me, the likely became the total number of days less the workable Saturdays. And so that gave me a likely. And then with the likely, I took -2 days for the minimum, plus 2 days for the maximum. You can establish whatever range you want. This one just seemed to work the best for me. And for illustration purposes, it's all you need. So once you've got this, then you need to convert it into what I'm calling a work table. And the important thing here is to get it in this new format so that you can just do a cut and paste and make sure you get rid of all of your negative values. I've already done that. And then when that's all done, you can import it back into this template. Now this template is derived from PERTmaster. So you go into PERTmaster and you set up an export. This gives you the rough template, and then you just have to fill it out. So once you have this template, what I want to call your key here, your name, what I want to call your attention to here is that we want to give the tab a code. And in this particular case, I gave it LC. And you'll see why this is important. Keep it as simple as possible, because this code is then how we're going to assign a resource. Because the way that PERTmaster works is, in order for this to work, it needs to assign a resource with its own resource calendar. What we've essentially done here is created a rain calendar. And then by assigning the LC to the particular activities, we've now assigned a rain day calendar to that. So again, the key here is start with your template in PertMaster, get it right to this, then go somewhere and find the data. Here I just recommend that you go to this particular case, which is www.weatherbase.com, and for whatever area you want. I got Lake Charles here, and select which one you think is the appropriate number of rain days. And I think you can do it with this with snow also. I haven't tried to do that, but I believe that's possible. So then once you're done, you end up with this. You're going to go through a number of iterations, but once it's done, and you can use it again and again. And that's why I went up to 2020, because I expect to use this again. So once we've got that, then we're all set. We just save it, remember where it is. And again, the key here is the tab code, because that's going to be your resource code. Okay, this is how it starts. First of all, just create a reflection of your basic schedule here. And that's just so that you don't mess anything up here. Now, what we need to do is remember that code we had from the Excel spreadsheet, the LC for Lake Charles. We have to create a resource. And so here's my resource, LC. It's a weather calendar. It's non-labor, has no dimensions whatsoever, and it has no value other than the fact that it's a resource, and that won't be later used by PertMaster. So we have to create that. And then what we have to do is we have to add that to each activity that's going to be affected by rain. And for what we do, that's almost every activity here. Because for the most part, it's access to the site. So what we've got to do is add this weather calendar. Now you can do that through the add resource down here, but with 600 activities, that becomes a little tedious. And not only that, I did not find a way to do it in the global change. So what I had to do is export this. So my initial assignment, I assigned this LC to my first activity. And then I went in and I just did an export to the spreadsheet. And so once I've got my spreadsheet, this is what it looks like. And then this was what you would have seen here for the 13. I would have had this LC with nothing, no dimensions. And so I just went and copied all of this, all of the preceding 600 activities, just did a copy and paste. And then I took this information here, this LC, and this nothing, because this is the row over here. And then I just pasted that over the other one. So I now have essentially 1,200 activities. Save that and then re-imported it. And when I re-import it, then I now get all of my activities with the additional LC, the weather calendar added. That's really all I have to do here. So we just save this, then create an XER. You know, again, we're going to export, and it's an XER file. So we're going to export that XER file. And that's all we have to do right now in P6. Okay, this is what it looks like when we've imported the XER file and cleaned it up, made it presentable. And if you'll notice, the weather calendar has been added down here by virtue of the resource under resources. So we're all set to go. I've already run this once. And so what you see right here is the distribution. And here we have our distribution analyzer. So this is our first example of what it is without any rain. And what we want to do now is add the weather model to this. So we go into risk, go into weather modeling, and we're going to import all weather data. And this is, we're going to get that template that we did in Excel. So we're going to import all weather data. We're going to find it. Just as a hint here too, I've also found that you'll want to do this currently, at least, in Excel 2003. 2007 and later seems to provide a certain hiccup. And so that's just what you want to do. Now we're going to assign it to a task, and this is just a check. And so, because again, we ordinarily would have had to done this for every activity, except we've done this now in P6, so it's all automatic. And so this is just a check on this thing. And here's now weather calendar set up. And we're going to go down and find our activity here, which is this right here. And you notice that it only has the one weather calendar on it. So we're good to go. And we're now all set up. And we're now going to do the analysis on this thing. And on this analysis, the only thing I would warn you is that on these warnings, I've basically unchecked these two up here, because for whatever reason, we get a number of warnings when we do this weather calendar with the minimum and the range. So just get rid of them, it's no big problem. On this one, I'm just going to do until convergence just for quickness. Okay, and here's our new distribution. We're going to add that to the distribution analyzer. And then we can see the difference here. The blue is with rain, and the green is without rain. No big surprise there. But you can see that there is an impact. And in this particular case, over a 4-year period, we're adding approximately a month or 35 days. So that's all there is to it. I should say all there is to it. It's a bit complex, but I think it's valuable. And again, a whole lot depends on what you determine is your exposure on rain. Now, this could easily be done for snow. And in this other case, the database did have temperatures, so you could decide if there's temperatures you could work with or something. But these, for me, are weather factors, not weather events, even though using the weather event calendar. So I hope you find this useful. My own feeling is that it's important that we account for rain or any other weather thing out there. And I've done the same thing for shutdowns, winter shutdowns, both where we might start early or finish later, whatever. But I mean, whatever fluctuations you have in your shutdown can also be modeled here. And I find this far superior to just using weather calendars in P6 by virtue of the fact that, first of all, you cannot risk or arrange a weather calendar in P6. And not only that, but P6 requires that you pick a specific date. Here, it just asks for a specific number of dates and it'll assign them anywhere, which I think is more realistic. So that's what I have. I hope you find it useful. Send me any comments or any questions. Thank you very much.